What is going on, YouTube? Just coming back at you with another video. It has been a while since I've produced any content. It's been winter here in Utah, and because of that, honestly speaking, it's been a little bit hard to go out and ride. Now, I have made a ton of changes to my Evo offering sitting here behind me. But one of the changes that I made, I think a lot of people get hung up on. I recently found a crack in my rear carbon rim. Reynolds TR309, I had done the TR6 hub upgrade. I'm a 140-pound rider, so to find a crack in the rear rim was a little bit concerning to me. So I went on the hut, reached out to some Facebook groups, and found an awesome set of rims that I'm really excited about. But with every set of rims comes a set of hubs, and I wanted something that was going to be unique for my bike. Now, with a lot of research, I narrowed it down to just a couple of different brands. Onyx, i9, and then DT Swiss. Now, very quickly I ruled out the DT Swiss with some help of some wheel builders, so I went with the Onyx Vespers. Now, I've been reading up on a lot of forums, and this is something that you cannot find on Onyx's website, and it actually took a call to the rim manufacturer that I switched to on these, which is WeAre1, to figure out. It's a really, really quick trick, it's really simple, and it'll actually save your hub from having to get warrantied right out of the gate, because there's a lot of issues that can arise. Now, let me get the camera set up, I'll switch it around and show you the hub, show you the issue, and then show you the fix. Alright guys, so you can see right here that we are running the Onyx hubs. Now, here's the thing about Onyx. They came out with a new hub called the Onyx Vesper, which is what these are. Intended to be more of a trail, XC-oriented, lighter weight hub, Onyx hubs have always been known for being heavier, which I think is why a lot of people don't consider them anymore. Now, what's cool about these is they have instant engagement. Now, it's hard for me to show you this, but I'm actually pushing with my fingers, and there is 0 degrees of any sort of droop in this cassette. I push it back, push it forward, and it is just instant. Similar to that, you spin the wheel, which will get it going, and then I grab the hub. If you listen there, absolutely no noise, which is really, really cool. It means you can hear the trail, and quite frankly, it's probably going to mean that I'm going to hear all the noises here. Now, here's one of the things that a lot of people complain about. I'll pull the wheel out to demonstrate this in a second, but if you look at this wheel, at the axle, it's kind of strange. So a lot of people will complain about there being shift from side to side. So, you know, horizontal shift between the hub and the actual spacing of the bike. Now, it's not because the hub isn't boost spaced or super boost or whatever you happen to be running. It's actually because, much like your crankset, on this particular hub, and I'll pull it out because it's sitting right behind this axle here, there is actually a tensioner knob. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull the wheel off, and I will show you this a little bit more specifically to this hub. Alright, now hopefully the angle of the camera can capture this really well. So I have here the Onyx Vesper. I'm not entirely sure if this applies to just regular Onyx hubs. I'm assuming that it does because I imagine that they're built very, very similar. Now, what you see here is I have this little lock ring. This is a 1.5 millimeter Allen wrench. Basically, you take this little Allen key, you unscrew this clamp here. Now, what that does, and interestingly enough, is it actually enables you to turn these two pieces independently. So you see my left hand is just kind of sitting here. My right hand is able to rotate. And I don't know if I can maybe zoom in to get this, but hopefully so. But you'll notice that as I turn this in, it actually screws into the axle. Okay, so hopefully you can see that there's no threads here. Let me just unscrew this about as far as it'll go. There you go. Hopefully that's picking up on camera. You can see the threads that are literally right here. Now, just like when you're installing a SRAM crankset, there's a little ring, okay, that you basically wind all the way out, and then you install your crank in and you wind that back in. It's actually the same idea here, but the opposite. So what Onyx needs you to do is actually take this, screw it all the way in, okay? Then you're going to put your axle back into your bike, you're gonna tighten down your rear axle to the torque spec of your bike. So I have an Evil Offering, I'll torque it to the spec that's on the rear axle there. And then what you actually do is you turn this so that this ring kind of nudges up against it. Now you'll feel it when it kind of hits and seats correctly, much like you would on your crank, but you need to be able to wind this out. Now, I've heard of people having issues with their cassette back here binding. I've heard about play and all sorts of different things. This right here is your fix to all of that. It's a little bit annoying, and I'll try to get it on the bike and see if I can get a good angle to show you what that looks like, but it's all because of this. Once you get this spacing, or this essentially this, I don't even know what you call it, this torque ring or whatever it may be, once you get that correct, then you're gonna take your 1.5 millimeter wrench, you're gonna tighten this ring down, and that's going to lock that spacing in place. Now, when I talked to We Are One, they said that you really only have to do this once. What I would probably recommend is do it, go on a couple of rides, and then recheck it, because the bearings are gonna seat, everything's gonna sit a little bit differently. So you're probably gonna wanna check this more than just one time. Now, let's go ahead and get this axle back onto the bike. I'm gonna get the torque down, but I'm not going to quite do this. Now, if you're anything like me, you kind of have to remember what direction this is going. So if our cassette is sitting this way, let me go ahead and back the camera out here. If the cassette is going, is on this side, then in order to get this ring to move out, okay, then you have to rotate it, what I believe is clockwise. Now you're going to be rotating this little nut right here. You're not actually going to rotate the axle, because this is going to be sitting up in the bike, but you're going to rotate this clockwise. So again, let me just flip this around. So this clamp piece right here, you'll be rotating clockwise. Or I'm sorry, I'm now on the other side. Clockwise, in order to extend that out. Make sure when you put your axle in that this side of it is pushed all the way in. I cannot emphasize that enough. And then you're going to turn this part here with the clamp clockwise. This axle right here is going to be sitting up against the axle of your bike, so it's actually going to remain stationary. It's a non-rotating piece. This is the piece that you're gonna rotate, tighten it down, and you should be good to go. So let's go throw this back on the bike, and I'll get you an example of it. All right, guys, so I've got my axle, I've got my wheel, torque wrench is all set to spec, so we're gonna go ahead and throw this on. I'll probably speed this up so you don't have to get the boring bit. Now, again, just want to reiterate, this portion right here, this is screwed all the way in, and this nut is not torqued down, it's not tightened down at all. So we're gonna throw this into the bike. Now, I just want to point one thing out that I just noticed. You can see there is significant play in the wheel right now. Now, I need to torque this down. So let me get this torqued, and I'll see if I can show you any more play in the wheel. 1 second. On an Evil Offering, by the way, what's really cool, I really like about this, is that all the bolts have the torque specs on them. So, for example, the rear axle here, it's 165 inch-pounds. So I've got my torque wrench sent to that. Let's torque it down. All right, so the wheel is torqued down. Now, if I come in here, I hope you guys can hear that, but you'll hear that there is actually play in this hub. And this right here, this is the issue that a ton of people are facing, is that there's play in their hubs. And the way to solve it is exactly what I just said. Again, listen to this. Now imagine if you were to go riding a trail with that sort of play in your rear hub. It's not going to be good, and I think a lot of people are writing these forums about this issue, but you have to, again, we're going to go clockwise now, and we're actually going to extend that out. So let me just do that really quick on this ring. There we go. This should be a lot better. So you can see right here, here is that ring that I was talking about, and notice I'm turning it clockwise, so towards me. And I'm going to keep turning it. I apologize that the camera's going to go in and out of focus. It's probably kind of hard. Right there. So I just felt it. Now, this is a manual tighten just with your fingers. Just go finger tight, and you'll feel it. Like I can feel spins freely here. I push it up. Boom. There it is. No more. Now, you don't want to over tighten this, because what's ultimately going to happen is your free hub is not going to spin as nicely as you actually want it to. So you really just want to go, and this is what the guys at We Are One told me, is once you feel it bump stop, just stop right there. Now, let's go ahead and check this. And you'll notice I'm putting the same amount of pressure, but the play is entirely gone. And it's because I've gone through and I have re-cinched this thing down. Now this is a huge problem. I hope that this video is helpful, but let me go ahead and torque this down again. You need that 1.5 millimeter Allen wrench. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to film this very well because let's be honest, this being able to lock this down is just an awkward spot, but we'll go ahead and get that done and then we'll follow up at the end. All right, so now that I've got this literally just finger tight, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my 1.5 millimeter Allen key. Now I have a rounded, probably best to not, this is a really small bolt. There we go. And I'm just gonna tighten this. Now, what I wanna do is I wanna be able to tighten this down. It doesn't have to be super tight, but you want it tight enough so that you don't really have, you just don't want this lock ring coming loose as you're riding. So I can feel right there is pretty tight, and then you can actually come in here and just kind of check this, and that thing ain't budging. Again, remember the play that we had? Moving the wheel back and forth, no play whatsoever. All right guys, so I hope that you have enjoyed this video about how to get the play out of your Onyx Vesper hubs. Again, if you could imagine if I had gone and ridden my bike with that play in the rear wheel, that would have spelled out disaster for my hub, potentially even my rear wheel. So this is super, super important to do the first time that you install your Onyx Vesper hubs. Now, honestly, I think there's one other YouTube video that shows how to do this. I just felt like, you know, these hubs, they don't come with a manual, and I literally had to call into We Are One to say, hey, I've got play in my hub, what do I do? And they explained this to me. So shout out to We Are One for their awesome customer service. Also, shout out to Onyx Vesper. I'm incredibly excited to ride these things. Instant engagement, silent, none of that angry bees noise. Anyways, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that this video was helpful. But most of all, I hope to see you all out on the trails very, very soon. Summer is around the corner. I'm going to do a bike check on this Evil offering. A lot of changes have happened over the winter, of course. So until the next time, guys, stay safe and ride happy. You!